In our mini lecture today, we are going to be studying observational learning, learning by observing others. And a big principle of this is what we see in this picture. We have a clown named Bobo, which the author of our textbook is punching out. This comes from Albert Bandura and his studies involving Bobo the clown, which took place at Stanford University back in the 1960s. And Bobo was actually where you had adults interacting with this, and then they observed how children responded by seeing what the adult did. We'll continue more about that in our miniature lecture today. So what is observational learning? Learning by observing others. And as we can see in this, we have the adult and we have the child. We are assuming that the adult is the mother and the child is the daughter of the mother here. Now, observational learning, learning by observing others. Let's break this down a little bit more. We have the model. The model in this picture is the mother. This is the person observed in observational learning. We have the child observing the mother. And in this stance, the child is trying to learn how to use chopsticks. We have the modeling, which is the process of observing and imitating a specific behavior. So the child is trying to learn here by observing how the mother is using chopsticks and what's going on with how to actually use these. And I'm not sure about you, but if you've ever used chopsticks before, it can be very hard to learn at first. Now, as I mentioned in the first slide of our miniature lecture today, we have Albert Bandura. Yes, Albert Bandura is 95 years old. Okay? But Albert Bandura was a Canadian-American psychologist who is the major figure of observational learning, and he was the one who came up with Bobo the clown in the experiment. Now, Albert Bandura today in 2020 is 95 years old. His studies, though, which started around the 1960s, have really pushed forward to learning the breakthroughs of observational learning and what goes on with that. Now, his studies look at how you have a behavior and a consequence that the model has on the subjects. So, as we can see at the very back, look in the picture behind Albert Bandura. You see a child with a hammer hitting Bobo. Yes, that is Bobo the clown. You had adults who were doing the same thing, and the child mimics the behavior. How many of you who are watching this mimic behaviors of the parents that you grew up with, the guardians that you grew up with? Many of you are probably thinking, yes, I do. Okay, I am a lot like my mother. Okay, and my mom was a lot like her father. Now, Albert Bandura's breakthrough was known as vicarious learning, learning by seeing the consequences of another person's behavior, learning through that and what to do or what not to do. And a consequence is not always a bad thing. So in our vicarious learning exercise, we're going to start here with a little boy named Henry. So young Henry observes a cookie jar. No, I am not the one who came up with these names. But Henry observes a cookie jar. The big sister is trying to reach into this cookie jar to get a cookie. What do you think the mother is going to say? No! The mother says no. She does not want her children eating cookies at this point. It's probably going to spoil her dinner. So what has Henry observed from Ella reaching into the cookie jar? Well, he doesn't repeat the behavior. Henry observes the cookie jar and he walks away. Because what does he not want said to him? No! Now, so what are the requirements for modeling? How do we see, how do we do, how do we get things done? There are 4 requirements: attention, retention, ability to reproduce behavior, and motivation. So attention, retention, ability to reproduce behavior, and motivation. You have to pay attention to what is going on. You have to be able to retain it in your brain using your cognitive skills. You must then be able to reproduce that behavior and be motivated to do that behavior. There has to be an outlay for that. These are the 4 requirements for modeling and being able to successfully accomplish it. Now, how do we do that? Through our mirror neurons. Our cells located in front of the brain that enact us to perform certain things when we observe others doing. Mirror neurons. We want to reenact that. So when you are a, when you're, well, for example, when I grew up, little girls wanted to put on makeup all the time. And they would watch their mothers do it, and then they would attempt to do it. Little boys, we would watch our fathers shave. And then we had the little plastic razors and try to do that too. Okay? These are things, this is what a child does. They want to mimic, they want to do. Some of you may have played house. Either you were a little girl who wanted to play house, or you might have been the boy next door who was forced to be the husband in the little household. These are types of situations here. You mimic these reactions. You mimic what's going on. The American Psychological Association on Commission on Violence in Youth has said that the higher levels of violence on TV, the increased acceptances of these attitudes and behavior. When children are exposed to violence on TV, it could have harmful consequences. When I was growing up, things were very G-rated on TV. Nowadays, you see everything going on television. You see mimicking, and what happens. People react this way. And that's our mini lecture today on modeling, okay, and vicarious learning and observational learning. Learning by observing others.